Joining me now is John Viveros, host of Hot Take Hockey. John, thanks as always for joining us. A pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's talk a little hockey. We'll talk about the team that's still fighting for the next round. That's Winnipeg. How are they looking going into this Game 7? I mean, is this the President's Cup? Is this the curse?
It might be, Roger. I honestly look at the Winnipeg Jets, and they have everything, but health has been a question here. Nikolai Ehlers just returned to the lineup, and Mark Scheifele's been out. So they've struggled with injuries, and they've struggled with some goaltending issues. Connor Hellebuyck has struggled in the net, specifically on the road. I think when you're looking at some of the numbers, like he's having crazy negative numbers in terms of goals against when you're up at the 7 number. Now multiple games where the goals have surpassed 5 and 6 for the St. Louis Blues. So Connor Hellebuyck, that story's been a huge concern in Winnipeg. And as I kind of just alluded to, this series has been a home ice affair. Every home team has won in this series so far. So you would like to think going back to Winnipeg, they can close it out on home ice. But I think with the St. Louis Blues carrying some momentum out of Game 6 and the uncertainty and lack of confidence in Connor Hellebuyck, it's a concern. And the Winnipeg Jets have also been one of the worst power play teams in the playoffs so far. So there are concerns for Jets fans, but the one thing they're holding on to is that home ice advantage.
All right. Can I put you on the spot? Prediction?
I'm going to say Jets in 7 the way the series is going, Roger. Early on, I actually was feeling the Blues momentum just going into the playoffs because they were a great regular season team in the second half, but so were the Jets. So I'll go with the Jets home ice advantage, Jets in 7.
All right, let's do that. Okay, let's talk about the 2 other teams that have moved on, 2 Canadian teams that have moved on. Leafs are taking on the Panthers. How do you unseat the Panthers?
So it's going to be tough. And as you already said a couple of years ago, the Leafs lost to the Panthers in 5 games. They're going to be a tough out. It's probably going to be the toughest matchup, in my opinion, that the Leafs will have if they go all the way. I really think between these 2 teams, they have a really good chance to end up in the final, maybe against the Oilers or Jets. But what I like about the Leafs this year is really that calm mindset. I think Craig Berube has really instilled that with the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think in other years, whether it was with Sheldon Keefe or maybe that more rookie mindset, it's a lot more high emotion. And I think we've seen that here, but with the Florida Panthers, what you learn is a lot of that mind games, the mental aspect, and depth scoring. And what you saw in Game 6 from the Toronto Maple Leafs was depth scoring, a massive goal for Max Pacioretty to send the Leafs to the next round. So if you want to beat the Florida Panthers and their depth and their physicality, and they have a great third line, it's going to be that depth from the Toronto Maple Leafs and just a calm perspective going into that matchup.
All right, and then the Oilers taking on the Vegas Knights. It feels like the Vegas Knights have been playing in the NHL forever now, and that they're in the playoffs every year and they win Stanley Cups.
It's crazy, Roger. Yeah, you know what? They haven't been in the league for 10 years, and yeah, they're in the playoffs almost every year. And when you look at the Golden Knights and you rewind to the first time they made it to the Stanley Cup final, they actually knocked out the Winnipeg Jets in the conference finals. So the Canadian teams don't have a great, I think, idea on the Vegas Golden Knights. Just, I mean, they've been kind of spoiled the way that they've had these matchups and the way that they've gone far into the playoffs. So I think a lot of us Canadians would see the Oilers and Jets maybe in a conference final as a great thing for Canadian hockey. I don't know if it'll go that way. There's still a lot of hockey to be played until that point. But for the Edmonton Oilers, I think that top-heavy talent is always so easy and kind of a lazy take to say Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, but that's the reality of the situation here. Those guys were able to step up, score a couple overtime winners, and then obviously in Game 6, following the flip to the script where you win 3 straight, the Oilers offense just absolutely explodes. So even though Darcy Kemper tried to turn it on later in the series, it was that Edmonton Oilers offense that carried them to the series win.
Okay, fingers crossed on that one. John, thanks as always, sir.
Thanks.
John,
see you next time.
All right, you got it. John Viveros is host of Hot Take Hockey.